Welcome back to the Book Nook podcast. Before we even get started, don't forget to check out that link in the description.
Oh, yeah?
It's where you can grab a copy of the book if you want to follow along.
Always a good idea.
For sure. Today, we're going to be talking about Frankie.
Okay.
By Graham Norton.
Yes, his latest.
It's his newest novel.
And
it's everywhere.
It is.
I've seen it all over the place.
Yeah, the reviews have been fantastic.
Really, really positive.
And BookTok is loving it, so.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into it. Who is Frankie Howe?
Well, Frankie is an older woman living in London, and she is recovering from a fall. And while she's mending, she kind of strikes up this connection with her carer, Damian, who is a young man from Ireland.
Interesting.
And this connection that they make sparks a journey down memory lane for Frankie.
Ooh, a journey down memory lane. I like that.
Yeah. So,
little trip to the past.
Damian's from Ireland.
Yeah.
Frankie's story, the tagline of the book is, Frankie was never the main character in her own life. Yes, that's right.
So I feel like maybe Damian being from Ireland as well.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a connection there.
Yeah, I think there's a subtle connection there in that they have that shared background.
Right.
And it might help Frankie to see her own story as worth telling.
Okay, interesting. So Frankie's childhood in post-war Ireland, we've heard from the reviews, that's a really important part of the book.
It is.
What can you tell us about that time in her life?
Well, picture 1950s rural Ireland.
Okay.
It was a very sheltered upbringing, It was a world away from that bustling London that she finds herself in later.
Yeah.
And there was a tragic event that happens when she was young that forced her to grow up too quickly.
Oh, wow.
And so no wonder she always carried this sense of being an outsider.
Yeah.
Observing life from the periphery.
Right, and that feeling that she doesn't belong.
Exactly.
Do you think that's a theme throughout the whole book?
I think so.
This idea of Frankie as an outsider?
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how that feeling manifests itself in different ways.
Okay.
As she moves through life from Ireland to London and then on to New York in the 60s, she's constantly navigating new environments.
Wow. New York in the 60s?
Yeah.
That's a big jump.
It is a big jump.
From rural Ireland.
Yeah, and Norton captures the energy and the turmoil of that era so well.
Oh, awesome.
It's really a backdrop that both amplifies and challenges her sense of self.
Wow, I can't wait to hear more about that. But before we do,
yes,
if you're loving this little glimpse into Frankie,
yes,
hit that subscribe button and leave us a review.
We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, we love hearing from you guys. It really helps other bookworms
definitely
find the show. So
for sure.
Okay, back to Frankie. So amidst all these changes she's going through, she's got one constant in her life, and that's her friendship with Nora.
Yes.
So tell me about that. How does this lifelong bond shape Frankie's journey?
Well, their friendship is complex.
Okay.
Nora is everything that Frankie isn't.
Okay.
She's bold, she's outgoing, she's adventurous, and yet despite their differences, their connection stays really strong even when distance separates them.
Wow, so Nora is like a counterpoint to Frankie.
Yeah, I think so.
Is there tension in their relationship because of that?
There are moments of friction, for sure. Sometimes it feels like Nora's pulling Frankie out of her comfort zone.
Right.
And, urging her to take risks.
Yeah.
While Frankie craves stability and familiarity.
Right.
But ultimately, their bond is a testament to the power of true friendship.
Oh, I love that.
Even when it's tested.
Yeah, that's a really relatable theme.
Yeah, and it's something that Norton explores really beautifully throughout the book. You see how their dynamic changes over time and how they support and challenge each other.
That's awesome.
Through different phases of life.
So Frankie ends up in the New York art scene.
She does.
In the 60s.
Yes.
That seems like a world that would either totally embrace her.
Yeah.
Or completely overwhelm her.
Right.
Especially with that outsider feeling she always has.
Yeah.
What is it like for Frankie being in that scene?
Well, it's a whirlwind experience for her. You have to remember, this is the 60s.
Yeah.
A time of immense creativity, social upheaval.
Right.
And Frankie, with her quiet observations and her reserved nature, she's plunged into this world of these larger-than-life personalities, bold, artistic expressions.
Wow.
And this constant hum of energy that's so far from rural Ireland.
It sounds overwhelming just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But also exciting.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's both.
A lot of potential for growth, I think.
Yeah, and heartbreak.
Oh, no.
Potentially.
I can't wait to hear more about what happens to Frankie in New York.
Me too.
But first, we're going to take a quick break. Welcome back to the Book Nook podcast, you guys. We are still deep in the world of Frankie.
Yes, we are.
Exploring all the twists and turns of her life.
We left off with her arriving in New York City.
That's right.
In the 60s.
A far cry from quiet life in Ireland.
Yeah.
So last time we were talking about how Frankie often feels like an outsider.
Mm-hmm.
How does that play out for her in this new setting?
Well, in a way, New York both forces her to confront that feeling and allows her to kind of retreat into herself even more.
Oh, how so?
Well, on one hand, she's so drawn to the energy and the freedom of expression of the New York art scene.
Yeah.
It's exhilarating and liberating for her, especially after that sheltered upbringing.
So a part of her wants to embrace it?
Totally, yeah.
Okay.
But at the same time, old habits die hard.
Yeah.
And even as she's mingling with artists and going out these glamorous parties, there's still a part of her that's holding back.
Right.
And observing from the sidelines, almost like she's afraid to fully let go.
Oh, I see.
And become part of it.
Like she's afraid to get hurt.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Her childhood experiences, especially that tragic event we talked about earlier, really left a mark on her.
Right.
It's almost as if she's built up all these walls around herself to protect herself from getting hurt again.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we know Frankie gets married in New York.
She does.
Tell me about her husband.
Well, her husband is very much a product of that New York art scene.
Okay.
He's charismatic, passionate,
okay.
a real whirlwind of creative energy.
Wow.
In many ways, he represents everything that Frankie's life in Ireland wasn't.
Opposites attract.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So their relationship is intense.
Okay.
It's fueled by passion, the shared love of art.
Uh-huh.
But it's also full of challenges.
I can imagine.
Frankie has to adjust to this much faster pace of life.
Yeah.
And her husband's artistic temperament can be,
oh, yeah.
demanding and unpredictable.
Right. It's one thing to be sucked up in the romance of it all.
Yeah.
But real life
exactly.
is a different story.
Totally.
And, of course, there's the age epidemic happening at this time.
That's right.
How does Norton portray that in the book?
Well, he doesn't shy away from it at all.
Okay.
He really portrays the devastating impact that it had on the gay community in New York during that time.
Right.
And for Frankie, it's woven into the fabric of her experience.
Okay.
Through her husband's connections in the art world, she sees firsthand the toll that the epidemic is taking on everyone around her.
Oh, wow.
The fear, the grief, the sense of loss that just permeates the community.
That's so sad.
It is, and I think it really forces Frankie to confront the fragility of life.
Yeah.
The preciousness of human connection.
That makes sense.
It's a reminder that even amidst all the vibrancy and excitement of New York life can change in an instant.
It sounds like Norton handles this topic with a lot of care.
He does. It's really well done.
Yeah.
And it's through these really difficult experiences that we see Frankie's strength and resilience.
Right.
She may not be the loudest voice in the room.
Yeah.
But she faces these challenges with this quiet determination and a really deep well of empathy.
That's amazing. I love that about her.
Yeah.
So it sounds like even though it's a difficult time for Frankie, there's a lot of growth happening.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
She's learning to navigate a complex world, confront her fears.
Yeah.
Find her own voice amidst all the noise.
And speaking of finding your voice,
yes.
If you're loving this conversation about Frankie, make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Yes.
And leave us a review. It means the world to us.
We love hearing from you guys.
So let us know what you think.
Yes, please.
Okay, back to Frankie's journey. So we've talked about her romantic relationship.
Right.
I want to circle back to her friendship with Nora.
Yes.
How does that friendship evolve during Frankie's time in New York?
Well, it's interesting because even with thousands of miles between them, their connection remains so important to Frankie.
Wow.
They exchange letters, sharing their triumphs and struggles, their hopes and fears.
So even in this new life, Nora is still her rock.
I think so, for sure.
That's amazing.
And it's fascinating because their roles kind of shift a little bit during this time.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, Nora, who was always the more adventurous one,
right,
she becomes this voice of reason for Frankie.
Okay.
Offering a different perspective on her choices.
Right.
Encouraging her to stay true to herself.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like their friendship is giving her some stability.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it.
And all this chaos.
It really highlights the power of having someone who knows you so deeply.
Yeah.
And can challenge you and support you no matter what.
No matter where you go in the world.
Exactly.
I love that. So with all the challenges Frankie is facing in New York, are there moments of joy and lightness, too?
Oh, absolutely. Even amidst all the heartbreak and uncertainty, there are these glimpses of pure joy.
Okay.
In Frankie's New York experience. Norton is so good at finding humor in those everyday moments.
Right.
And he sprinkles them throughout the story.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like little gems.
Exactly. Like those classic New York scenes, late night dinners with friends.
Yeah.
Scrolls through art galleries, maybe even a chance encounter with a celebrity.
I love it.
Yeah, he really captures the essence of New York City.
That's awesome.
In all its vibrancy and complexity.
Yeah.
He doesn't shy away from the grittier side of life, but he also celebrates the beauty and resilience of the human spirit.
It sounds like a really immersive reading experience.
Definitely one that stays with you.
So as Frankie's time in New York comes to a close,
yeah,
What lessons do you think she takes with her into the next chapter of her life?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Something to think about as we head into part 3.
Yes, tune in for part 3.
Where we'll explore Frankie's later years and the wisdom she gains from all her experiences.
Exactly.
Welcome back to the Book Nook podcast, listeners. We're wrapping up our deep dive into Frankie. And wow, this book has really stuck with me.
I know, right? It's one of those stories that just stays with you.
Totally. So we followed Frankie from her childhood in Ireland to that crazy New York art scene in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And now we find her back in London, older.
Yeah.
Reflecting on her life.
It's like coming full circle.
Yeah.
We started with her as an older woman, sharing all her memories with Damian.
Yeah, her carer from Ireland.
Yeah, and now we get to see how those memories have shaped her.
It's interesting how Norton uses those conversations between Frankie and Damian to frame the whole story.
Right.
It's not just like a straightforward retelling of everything.
Yeah, it feels more intimate.
Yeah.
More layered, you know?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
We're really experiencing her story through Damian's eyes.
Exactly, and it adds a whole new dimension.
Yeah.
You know, we see how her past resonates with him, how it makes him think about his own life.
Right. And it's so cool to see how storytelling can connect different generations.
Totally. Yeah, it's like these unexpected connections.
Yeah, and it seems like Frankie, even though she often felt like an outsider,
right,
she's really touched so many people throughout her life.
She has, you know, she might not see herself as the main character, but her strength, her empathy, her kindness has really left a mark on everyone around her.
That's a good point. We don't always have to be in the spotlight to make a difference.
Exactly. Sometimes the smallest things can have the biggest impact.
So in these final chapters,
yeah,
we see Frankie thinking about her legacy, what she'll leave behind.
And it's not about possessions or achievements. It's about the connections, the love, those small moments of grace and beauty.
It's a really beautiful reflection on what matters most in life.
Definitely.
So does the book end on a hopeful note?
I think so. You know, even with all the losses and heartbreak she's been through, there's a sense of peace about her. Like she's made peace with her choices.
Okay.
She's embraced life and found joy in the simple things.
That's such a nice thought.
It is. You know, even as we get older and face challenges, there's still beauty and meaning to be found in every chapter.
I love that. So what do you think it is about this story that has resonated with so many readers?
I think it's Frankie herself.
Yeah.
She's just so relatable.
Yeah.
So human.
She's not a superhero or anything?
Right. She's an ordinary woman who's lived an extraordinary life.
And Norton's writing is just beautiful.
It is. He captures those little nuances of human emotions so well.
I agree.
The humor, the heartbreak. It makes the story both heartwarming and thought-provoking.
It really does. So for all our listeners who want to experience Frankie for themselves, you can find a link to buy the book down in the description.
Check it out.
And if you enjoyed our deep dive into Frankie, please hit that subscribe button and leave us a review.
We love hearing from you.
It really helps other book lovers find the show.
So thank you for listening.
Thank you guys for listening to the Book Nook podcast. Until next time, happy reading.